and we can lose our confidence at times, but yet it's also that time of great learning and opportunity to do new things and learn new skills, no matter our age. So I really appreciate your sharing that as well. So thanks so much, Charlie. We're going to go ahead and take our next break. And when we come back, we'll talk more with Charlie McGee of FranNet about franchising. Hi, I'm Lisa Downs, career and retirement transition coach and host of Reigniting You on KKNW. I guide age 40-plus professionals to gain clarity, a renewed sense of purpose, and a career transition plan within 90 days so you can lead a fulfilling life regardless of your age. No longer does change have to mean riding off into the proverbial sunset. Let's talk about what your next phase of life can look like. Visit yournewaspect.com or call me at 425-216-3015. That's 425-216-3015. New Aspect Coaching. Fresh perspectives for your career.
Have a career transition related question or want to share your best or worst job story? Call 360-436-6496. That's 360-436-6496. Just leave a voicemail and we'll answer your question or share your story on a future show. Stay tuned for more Reigniting You with Lisa Downs.
Wherever you go, Alternative Talk 1150 is here for you.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, a new show that discusses timely issues and topics about career transitions for Gen Xers and Boomers. I'm your host, Lisa Downs. We're here with Charlie McGee of FranNet of Washington. So, Charlie, let's go ahead and dive right back in. And for those who are considering being an entrepreneur as a career change or, have always wanted to own their own business, something that they've dreamed about over the years, what are some of the key things they need to keep in mind or that you'd recommend that they get clarity on?
A great question, Lisa. I think the number one thing is to spend some time really understanding, reflecting on, and clarifying what is it that you're trying to accomplish through business ownership. And I would say this, the role is, what you're trying to do is manage risk. There's risks to starting businesses, there are risks to buying businesses, and there are risks to franchising. But the clearer you can be about what role you're going to play in the business, what's a day in the life look like, your goals for the business, and I don't just mean financial. What do you want for the rest of your life? How will it impact your family? And then being realistic, conservative even, with regard to your financial readiness. Really having a good sense of your budget, and so that you can put yourself in a position to safely launch a business and be as efficient as you can managing those risks.
Sure. And just to follow up on that, from what you just shared, what are some of the risks that you've seen over time or as you've worked with clients? So maybe some of the initial mistakes that they might make.
Well, I like to think that we're, by working with me, the clients have a good sense of the skills that they're going to need to have to successfully launch the business. And what I mean by that is that what comes up so often, particularly in the Puget Sound area, are people that have technical backgrounds that then want to go into a sales-driven business. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't had a sales background, then you need to really have a good understanding of where your customer is going to come from. Is it an inbound passive retail model? Is it more of an outbound B2B relationship building model? And so that's one of the things that we do to help people understand. The other thing is that just for any business is getting a sense of how the business is going to launch, how it's going to ramp, how long it would take to get to a positive cash flow position, and ensuring that the household income and the resources of that prospective franchisee are appropriate for what will be likely required.
Hmm.
Um, and always leaving a little extra room for the just in case life happens
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And all great points. I know for me, I first went independent full time 5 years ago, and it's taken me a while just to figure some of those things out. And especially your point about when you've got a certain technical skill set or you're great at what you do, you know, sometimes it doesn't necessarily transfer into being great at sales or marketing. And so either getting help with that or ways to figure that out is really critical. So thanks for that as well. And what would you say are some of the benefits of being a franchise owner as opposed to starting a business from scratch?
Well, I think there's a few things. One of them that comes to mind immediately is a higher success rate. Startup businesses overall have the lowest success rate as measured by the SBA, and franchises have the highest. So that's kind of number one. I think another reason that people choose to do it is because the systems and the processes and the branding are all in place. It enables a franchisee who has strengths in implementation and execution to ramp the business up much more quickly and get to scale faster than they would if they were doing something on their own. And I think another and this is more important for some people than others, but the community that you enjoy as a franchisee with fellow owners facing similar challenges in your market and in other parts of the country can be an enormous benefit and uh, and is useful.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then, on the flip side of that, what would you say are some downsides of franchise ownership as opposed to just striking out on your own?
Well, there are those, Lisa, who are, we call serial entrepreneurs
Mm-hmm.
who love, they never met a rule book that they liked. They want to do things on their own way. They're willing to take the risks that are involved in doing so. And, compliance is not necessarily a strength.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are if you don't see the value and appreciate the benefits of consistent customer experience and branding execution and so forth, then it may not be the best flavor for you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I get that. And, it was funny when I was first considering going independent, I spent quite a bit of time. Uh, oh, well, I don't think my last corporate employer really knew what I was up to. Hopefully not. But I spent quite a bit of time talking to a number of people who'd been on their own for a while and in the people development industry where I come from. And a few of them said, you're going to think two things when you go independent. The first is, I should have done this a long time ago. And the second is, I will now make a horrible employee. So, and it's like, yep. So I
I
think
feel
that,
the way. I feel ruined to ever go work
I
for somebody.
know.
Couldn't do it.
So yeah, it's like I get that, and about the rule thing too. And it's like not that I don't follow the rules. I'm a good girl from that perspective. But now I think about working for someone else again, and it's like, oh, kind of gives me that bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. So
And
totally get
I
that.
don't mean to suggest that as a franchisee you are working for the franchisor. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
You are your own independent business owner, but with a partner. I think the best way to look at the franchisor is as a partner.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just thought I'd add that.
Oh, that's great. That's a great point. And I think that's what it's really about is forming partnerships. And even though you may be the owner or you may be independent, it doesn't mean that you necessarily that it's a great strategy to completely go it alone for everything. So, partnerships I think are really critical as well. So thanks for bringing that up too. And for you in your role, what's your specific role in supporting people who want to be a franchisee?
Yeah, thanks. FranNet that I'm with has been doing this for 30 years. They've been a marvelous group to be associated with. It's a franchise, as a matter of fact, and I've learned a lot from some great people that have been doing it a long time. So we have a process, and my role is initially with someone that raises their hand saying, I have an entrepreneurial itch I'd like to scratch. I'm in a career transition time in my life, and maybe it's something to explore. So my role is to help them with assessment, assess their readiness. And we have a proprietary tool we've used for many years called a personal franchise assessment, which kind of uncovers their entrepreneurial DNA. From there, we work together to really clarify their goals, their personal finances, to understand, what would be an appropriate budget for making an investment should they find something that's a good fit. And what's the role that they want to play in the business? Are they looking for something, maybe they have a few different irons in the fire, and they're looking for something more part-time. Maybe they are ready to go all in full-time on the business in more of an executive role. So we figured those things out first, diagnose before you prescribe. I love when people ask me, hey, Charlie, what's the hot franchise? And it's the first question. And I always want to say, well, if you're really serious about this, let's kind of figure out what the right thing for you is first. So that's the matchmaking piece, based on all of the different options out there. Where might you be a best fit? Who are the franchisors that are looking for people with your strengths and your background? And then advising them through the due diligence process so that they, are asking the right questions, and put themselves in a position to really make a confident, fact-based decision about, whether now is the right time for them to start their entrepreneurial journey, and whether they've found the concept that, really is the best fit.
Yeah. And just to follow up with that, so, lots of times when I think about franchises, I think of fast food. So I think of, McDonald's, Burger King, Dairy Queen, et cetera. What are what's the range of the types of businesses that people can go into franchising with?
It's a great question. And, there are so many, there's so many different options. If you go to at our website, frannet.com, there's a description of probably 80 different categories where franchises can be found. Things that serve other businesses, residential services. Speaking of residential services, this year with the pandemic, those businesses that have served the needs of homeowners are seeing some of their best, are having record years.
Oh, wow.
Because of what people are, they're home and they're noticing things that need to be done. And that's one of the things that we do, is try to help people focus on, what are the businesses that are need-based and are going to perform well in good times and bad.
That's really cool. Nice. And so, Charlie, for people to find you, if they're curious and want to learn more, how can they reach you?
Well, our website, frannet.com, is a terrific resource with lots of great information and education about franchising in general. They can visit my page at frannet.com/cmcgee. I'm on LinkedIn, and if they'd like to do it the old-fashioned way and call me, they could at 360-489-2153. Would love to